already fine.
Robert, I'm not sure how much you can talk about Shaq Lawson yet. Can you talk about him?
No, not much. He's going through all his testing and all that stuff. So excited to have him here and get to work with him.
Can you go over the guys who didn't practice today?
God, that's a big list right there, Connor. Nothing's changed since game day. Obviously, Michael Carter did not practice today, the running back. Vincent was out with a heel. Michael will be fine. He should be back Wednesday, hopefully. Obviously, Mackay, that hasn't changed. On defense, all the same ones that haven't, so there's nothing new there. So, personal. He had a personal. Thank you.
Michael Carter, what does he have?
He's just working with some lower extremity stuff, but he'll be fine.
Was Van Broek and Russ Day? Yeah, what about here? Davis looked like
Ben
was practicing. Oh, he was out there in team just getting fucking accident.
Yeah, no, they all do that, but he practiced. Yeah.
Davis looked like he started doing some stretching and stuff. Just where is he at in terms of his progression? And
Which Davis?
Ashton Davis, sorry.
It's like 5 of them. Ashton obviously has been activated off PUP, so we're excited to get him back in the progressions and all that stuff. So,
How much of a ramp up does he need? Do you think, could he be ready for week 1, or how does that work?
we're going to go day by day with that one, but to give him that proper ramp up that he needs.
We talked a lot about how young your team is. You also have a young coaching staff, a lot of guys in new roles. What has that been like for you in training camp, and kind of what's your process of sort of coaching the coaches?
I try to put myself in, because I was in their shoes 4 years ago as a first-time coordinator, and then I was in their shoes as a first-time linebackers coach. So there's empathy in that regard, and to just try to go through my experiences and just try to do the best I can, and speaking with regards to, hey, you know what, this happened in 2013, and this is the way we reacted to it, and this is what we did. This happened in 17, 18, whatever it might be, and so just to not overflow them and try to make them me, but to help them understand, hey, just to help them stay ahead of the chains with regards to their process and how they do things. So it's that's really the dialogue that we're having.
With the absence of that fourth preseason game now, like cut day, I think is a little different in the way that you guys are structuring it. Also, what is it going to look like for you? Are you getting some cuts done today, a chunk tomorrow? I mean, what's your structure going to be like?
Obviously, work with Joe here over the next couple of days, and whatever Joe decides, that's what we'll roll with.
On the coaches, Robert, do you expect there to be some growing pains because you have so many people in new roles?
There's going to be great learning experiences. Even for me, as first-time head coach, there's going to be learning experiences, and there's going to be things that, like, oh man, you try to stay ahead, you try to stay a step ahead in terms of all the different things that come up with regards to, for me, situations, for the play callers, all the different things that pop up. But until you get to go through those experiences, there's going to be some new things that happen. And I mean, shoot, I would imagine that even for the most experienced coaches, something new happens every week. That's like, shoot, jot it down. So it's try to create as many simulated deals, game-like experiences as we can, and try to learn the best we can. And when those opportunities come, you hit it. I mean, just critically speaking myself, there was a great opportunity in the Philadelphia game where, from a game management standpoint, I had an opportunity. Looking back at it, I was like, you know what? It was in a gray area spot, but we could have called, or we could have done something. I'm not going to talk about the situation that could have saved us a little bit more time. And it was something that we jot down. It's just, there's so many different things that can happen and will happen, and our ability to learn is going to what defines the staff.
How much time do you spend thinking about those game situations and how you want to call it?
All the
Fourth
time.
Downs, like
All the time.
You know,
we're every walkthrough we have a situational. We dedicate 5 to 10 minutes to situations, not only for the offense to go through and the defense, but myself. We're always Burke is always bringing me situations that happen throughout the week. Hey, look at all these situations that popped up. Thought this was a cool one. This is a cool one. So we're trying to create as many simulated situations as we can. So when those do pop up in the game, we have some type of recall.
You're with your first group defense. Obviously, you haven't really been whole at any one point yet. But when those guys have been in, there's been some struggles. You talked about, the third down issues a little bit in the Green Bay game. And where is that defense right now? As you kind of go to this last week in preparation and whatnot, I mean, are there some concerns as you lead toward?
I'm excited to see where we're at. We've in some of those games we've gone without. We're getting Quinnen in, we're getting Rankins in. We feel comfortable with the fact that we'll be healthy going into these games. But there's a lot of detail that we still got to get better at, and the anticipation is, at least with our scheme, in years past, we've always gotten better as the years gone on, and it's going to be one of those deals. They're going to learn all the different ways offenses attack them, and as I've mentioned it before, there's that 101 phase where you're learning the scheme. There's that 301 phase where you're learning your fundamentals and technique, and then there's that 501 phase where you start to understand what offenses, from a defense perspective, are trying to do to you, and they're still working through that 101, 301 phase and trying to absorb as much of that offense as they can. But there's going to get to a point where they're not thinking about scheme. They're not thinking about technique. They're just thinking about what offenses are doing, and they'll speed up because of it.
When do you hope that you're at the 501 phase in September?
Exactly.
But in your experience, especially with a young team, and when does a young team get to that 501?
That's a great question, because I think every team is different. We had, I'll just recall from San Fran. I mean, we had so many injuries a year ago, but there was so much continuity over 4 years of working with guys that all those backups were able to step in, and they were already at that 501 phase. They were able to absorb as much of the offense as they could and still execute at a high level. And so it's the same thing. Like, not that it's going to take 4 years, but my point is that it does take time, but hopefully it doesn't take too much time.
Brought in Matt Cavanaugh. What's his role? What do you want to see him do for you guys?
I've talked about it before, where Mike is running the scheme part, and Calabrese does a great job on the field with regards to drills and building cut-ups and teach tapes. But to have that old soul who's been through who's had so many different experiences. One for Mike as a play caller to help him through all the different questions he might have, game planning, such a valuable resource, and then obviously for the quarterback and talking about the different experiences that he's had and developing quarterbacks along the way. So it's very similar, God rest his soul, with Napper and what we were expecting out of him, and to have him, he's going to provide a lot.
Robert, this is your first time as a head coach going through the cut down day. How difficult is this? You've worked with these guys now, a lot of them since the spring, that you're going to have to tell them, they're going to move on from here tomorrow.
It doesn't change. Like, even as a coordinator, you still got a chance to talk to all those guys as they left. And obviously it was smaller because it was one side of the ball, but it doesn't change. Like, this is by far the worst part of football. And for some of them, the dream of playing professional football is over. For some, they're still going to be able to continue on. And you never want to be the one to deliver bad news, and and you just hurt for them, because you know how much effort and how much work they put into it. So it's not easy. It will never be easy, and it doesn't matter what role you are. Whenever you have to tell somebody that their dream of playing professional football is possibly over, it's not a good thing.
When you look at Zach, where do you feel like he is right now, as opposed to what you thought you'd like him to be, during this last week?
We're excited about where he's at, just because of the fact that he's shown to grow and not make the same mistakes twice, and he shows great poise and all that stuff. But again, no different. He's going to get a whole set of looks coming up. The speed of the game is going to change. The way teams attack from a defensive perspective is going to change, and so his ability to learn and process and slow the game down as quickly as he can is going to be what matters most. And we like where he's at. Like I said, his process and how he prepares has us very confident in the fact that he's going to be able to absorb all that information and execute at a high level.
Just a quick follow on that. What are the most important things of this next week that you bring to him? What's he going to get out of this next week?
Well,
before that first game.
Yeah, so obviously we're going right to Carolina, and he's just, everything that he does from here on out is about Carolina, and studying their tape and trying to find ways to improve his game so he can slow the game down as best he can, so he can play the best he can.
Obviously, I mean, I asked Zach about pre-snap, post-snap defenses now they're going to try to confuse him, things of that nature. Obviously, that's things that you like to do. So how can, from your experience, your expertise, help teach him, going into Carolina week, what are some things that they're going to try to do to confuse him with the pre-snap, post-snap stuff?
Well, he's going to get that. Mike will do a great job in terms of getting it. We've given it to him here in camp the best we could, just the way we run our defenses. So he's kind of getting used to all the stuff around his feet. You guys saw it again today with all the 11-on-11 work we did, flipping coverages on them and just trying to make it hard on them. And it's going to be no different. So he's going to get the same action. I was talking to Mike on the field. We make it so chaotic in practice that we just can't help but feel like the game's going to be slower for him. So we're excited about what he's been able to get exposed to, and now it's just a matter of doing our best to give him all the indicators possible so he can make a pre-snap decision so he can get the ball where it needs to go.
And one more about coaching the coaches, Robert. Like, what does that look like? Is that private conversations on the field? Is that staff meeting stuff? Like, that's not something I feel like I've ever seen.
No, that's good. It's private conversations. It's sitting in on meetings. It's recognizing something and trying to, like, hey, I see this coming. I'm just going to try to help you out with it. But it's doing everything you can to just, like I said, help them stay ahead. And I might go in there and say something. Mike says, I'm way ahead of you on that one, but and I'm like, great, that's perfect. So it's more just conversation and communicating and seeing something to try to help them stay a step ahead. And these guys, and I'm not just speaking for our staff. I think every staff in America, count college too, they take so much pride in their work. They're always trying to stay ahead. They're always trying to take the next step to help these young men execute at a high level. For sure, you're right. Young staff, there's some things that they haven't been exposed to, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that they're crippled. They're going to be able to find ways to get better. They're going to be able to find ways to expose themselves, and they're going to learn because that's what they do. They get paid a lot of money to do it. So, my faith in our staff is unwavering in the sense that there's going to be learning moments, but I know we're only going to get better as time goes. Did you have one more?
I did. Are you going to let me ask?
Yeah, you can ask it, man.
I didn't do this.
Sorry, Eric. It's okay.
Last year was kind of weird with the waiver wire because you guys didn't necessarily have film to go off of from preseason games and other teams and stuff like that. With the benefit of seeing players in that regard, not just your own research and your own intel, do you anticipate, I know this is Joe as well, but do you guys anticipate being a little bit more active on the waiver wire now that you have the resources available to get some intel on other players?
It always, last year just going through San Francisco, it was easier to hide guys, and it was harder to claim guys. But that goes back to what it was in 2019. So there's obviously more film, the easier it becomes. Doesn't mean we'll be more active, it just means that we're able to study these guys a little bit more. So.
Justin was really unhappy. Extra question there. He's sitting there